I'm Alex. What's up?
And hey, we're back again.
Back again.
Yeah. And this week's show is a little more news. Had a couple big things happen this week that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, I'll let you start off with what we were talking about while we were grilling earlier today, and then we'll go into what I wanted to talk about after.
Okay, so those of you who have listened to our show in the past are aware we talked about this. I guess it was 2012, 2013. Um, Ouya, the little Android based game console was
Which we kickstarted.
we did help to kickstart that project. Um, it it came out. I felt like it wasn't a raging success. We're not going to make anything up. It
No.
was it it has its staunch supporters, its fans who absolutely love the system. And in fact, it's even got its own YouTube news show where there people talk about all the new software and updates and changes and stuff like that. So I mean, it has a pretty good following, but it's not on par with say your major consoles.
No, but I never really felt like that was where they were trying to go with the design. I think they were. I felt like they were all trying to offer an alternative, something that kind of appealed to the more casual gamer at half the price. And yeah, I mean they sell it at Target now, so
Oh, there you go. So the thing with the Ouya is basically you buy the console, you hook it up to your TV, it comes with a remote, and it's all done through the cloud. All the game store and everything is online. You can buy the games and download them to your console and play them offline. Um, so I mean, it's a neat little system the way it works. Most of your titles though are like rehashes of popular games or indie third party developed games, and they're not bad. There's some really good indie third party games out there to play, but the Ouya never took off. Well, this week, um, Razer, who we all know as the I would almost say the pinnacle of gaming peripherals, has actually gone out and acquired Ouya's software and development teams. It's important that we say that because they don't have any rights to the hardware aspect of Ouya or the name Ouya. All they bought was the entire software library and Ouya's development team.
I mean, they pretty much bought the company, but I think they have their own plans and they're not interested in their tech.
Yeah, so the reason behind this, it was the company will take over Ouya's software and development teams to bolster its own Android-powered set-top box. Razer wants to move Ouya's user base, games, controllers, accounts to its own platform. This is what they're calling Cortex for Forge TV by Razer. So, this is their move into that market.
All right, so what's your what's your first impressions like right away?
What's going to happen to the software that I've purchased on the Ouya? That was my first question because I've probably spent $40 in on games for the Ouya console in the 2 years I've had it. Those are
What's been your
games.
most recent purchase though?
My most recent purchase was probably about a year ago. I bought Final Fantasy 2 or Final Fantasy 4 from Square Enix for like $9.
Well, I don't know. I would imagine that at least for a while you'll get to keep your purchases. They probably won't do much with the Ouya. I just don't know that they're going to support it with new content.
Yeah, so the CEO of Razer, Min Liang Tan, actually did, and I probably just butchered his name, but he did an AMA this week with people and allowed them to come in and ask him questions based on you know solely around this new acquisition. And so one of the questions was, what will happen to our games and stuff that we've already purchased for the Ouya? And Min Liang said that we're going to keep the lights on for the current Ouya service for the existing boxes for at least the next 12 months. So they're not shutting the Ouya down immediately. They're going to migrate all the games over, but they're going to continue to keep the Ouya going for at least the next 12 months. This is while they're setting up the Cortex and the Forge TV systems, and I think they're really kind of hoping people will slowly start to migrate over to their system. Uh, he says uh, so somebody else asked what discount will be offered on the Forge for the Forge TV bundle and standalone, and the CEO of Razer said we'll be announcing that with when the integration of Ouya's platform is ready for the Forge TV, which will be sometime in the fourth quarter of 2015. So fourth quarter's coming up pretty quick. That's September, October, November, December. So yeah, next month, September starts the fourth quarter.
Yes.
So
For
sometime,
some companies.
right? So sometime in that time frame, we should be finding out when the Forge TV will be available. And during this transition period, they're hoping the Ouya users will purchase the Forge. And I'm kind of hoping, and I don't know if I saw it, but there's going to be some sort of a migration of Ouya accounts into Forge TV accounts so that you still have access to the games you purchased through the Ouya.
Honestly, that just makes sense. And I can't imagine a scenario where not doing that seems like a good idea to them. Um, that being said, you've got all of these users who, without their, well, I mean, not all the users, but you've got some groups of people that without their contribution in starting Ouya, they wouldn't have had anything to buy to begin with. So it would just make sense to move those existing account names and those existing purchases over. Because I mean, you purchased Ouya, you also purchased, I guess, a contract with these people. Excuse me. And I just can't imagine a scenario where they think it's a good idea to go in and just say, you know what, we bought them. Sorry about your luck. Come over here and try our new system, where we're not going to let you bring any of your old stuff over, but hey, you can buy our new stuff. It just doesn't seem like that is going to jive.
Yeah. So I actually did just find a question that was asked. It says, "Does my current purchases transfer over only to Cortex through Google Play under the Ouya publisher, or both?" And he replied and said, "Well, we're working on trying to get the accounts migrated to the best of our ability. It's possible not all content may transfer, though we'll do whatever we can to resolve the situation. The transfers will be to a new Cortex account." So yeah, he says they're going to try to do their best to take care of the existing Ouya fan base and the players, and try to get them integrated successfully. So
I got you. So just a heads up, I'm watching our stream, and we're down video. I'm not sure if we're down audio or not. Hold on. Failed to load video. Submit an issue report. It could just be me, but I'm not hearing anything. It's saying that we're live, but I'm going to reload the page and attempt to bring us back up. Could be an issue on my end.
Well, I just got to the page and I am watching an ad, so I'll let you know when the ad is over.
Yeah, I'm still trying to load video. Um, yeah, so I'm not hearing any audio or video. Are you still recording locally?
Uh, well, I set it up so that when we do stream live, it also records a local copy. So
Okay, so we may just end up having to finish this up and load it to YouTube.
yeah, there you go.
All right, so I guess back on track, and I'll just go ahead and shut this out. Um, there. Okay, so first impressions aside, looking ahead, what are they going to have to do to not fall into that Ouya trap? What are they going to have to do as Razer? Now you've got, and really I consider the king of the peripherals. Yeah, I love all of their hardware. So what are they going to have to do in today's video game market? And obviously it's going to be a download only. They're not going to offer any physical media for the system. So what are they going to have to do to compete with the likes of Steam? Because I can't imagine they're going to expect to compete with Microsoft and Sony right out of the gate.
Okay, so the thing I feel like Steam does better than anybody else is the quality of games that they provide access to. Because not only does Steam provide a platform for indie developers to self-publish out there, they also provide a place for you can pick up AAA titles.
Right.
So I mean, I think if they want to, so okay, they need to be able to provide a good range of titles as well as be able to integrate with the system well enough that you are able to play those titles on your television, just like Steam is currently trying to do with the new Steam box.
Okay, and then that's kind of where I was going with it. I think this is probably a competitor to the Steam box. Um, and I think without knowing anything about what's going on, I would imagine that not only are you going to be able to download games like you can to the Ouya, but I would imagine there's going to be like a 4K stream that you can use to play games from like a cloud service.
Yeah, I would say you could probably see something like that. Trying to think.
I mean, to me, it just seems like that would be something that Razer would do in an attempt to gain a lot of ground quickly, till they could build that download library. Now, whether people are ready for it or not, um, yeah, that's yet to be determined. But I think I think in the grand scheme of things, Steam's got a pretty big lead on them, a huge title and library lead. So I would imagine that I would imagine they're going to have to offer some kind of game streaming until they can get everything up to.
Yeah, they've also got a much larger head start on a user base. I mean, just about everybody I know, present company excluded, uses Steam on a daily basis to play their games, and I use Steam on a pretty regular basis. I just got a new computer, and I was waiting until I got my data drive installed to install Steam because I knew I only have a very small SSD running my operating system, so I wanted to be able to install my games without having to worry about space constraints.
Right, and you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that are really into Steam, and I don't know, if I'm going to spend that much money on something, I'm going to hold it in my hand. But yeah, now this stuff that's under $10 or $15, I'm good with buying that
And
on
and
Steam.
and that's one of the things. That's another one of the things that Steam does really well is they've spoiled me. I don't pay full price for games anymore. I wait for Steam to have a sale. They have two sales annually, a summer sale and a Christmas sale, where the games are usually anywhere between 33 and 75% off.
Right.
And I usually wait until those sales to pick up the games that I want that are on my wish list. So, I might buy a $60 game for $15 if it's 75% off, or, $20, whatever. Or Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is another really good feature because a lot of times your developers will go to Humble Bundle and say, here's 5 or 6 games, you know, it all the proceeds can, go to charity or the developers or however you choose to divide it up, and you can get 4 or 5 games. Usually all the games on Humble Bundle come with Steam codes,
Right.
so you buy the games on Humble Bundle for whatever you want to pay for them, and then load them into Steam, and it's just like you bought them through Steam. So it's really good integration on their side. I just looked. I have 172 games in my Steam library currently. I know a friend of mine who has almost 500.
And just to be fair, chances are if you're buying them for $15 or less, they're not 60 games retailing. They're $60 games retail anymore. Most of the time, they've dropped down to the $40 or $30 mark.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'm waiting on Far Cry 4 to go on sale. It's still listed as $60 on
Right.
Steam,
And it's been
and
for a while.
yeah, yeah, and I want to say it's probably 39.99 on PS4 right now. I don't know. I haven't checked, but it's probably come down to that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And, you're directly competing with that used game market as well. And I mean, right now, unless you've upgraded your PC in the last, I don't know, 8 months, maybe a year, chances are you're probably not pushing graphics like the PS4 or the Xbox One. Most people. So it's easier to go out and buy the games for the systems than it is to upgrade your PC.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, so do you want to move on to your story now?
Yeah, I guess. And this actually it came up today. Went shoe shopping, Christmas or not Christmas, back to school shopping. Uh, Went to look for shoes, and so we had a little extra time, so we went by the mall. Um, and so we were going by a video game store, and my youngest son, or he brought up Smash Brothers and asked me which physics engine I liked the best. And I hadn't actually played much of the last two, so I couldn't really, I didn't really have a great base to compare the games on. So I came back home, and one of the things I looked up was recent news on the new Smash Brothers, and kind of get a look at that physics engine so that I could have this conversation, finish the conversation with him. And so I saw where Super Smash Brothers recently got its tournament mode that they've been begging for, and it just it's come out, and the players don't really like it. So, a couple of things, and I'm trying to find a way to kind of to walk everybody along, like my line of logic here, or like the way I'm thinking about this. So I'm going to start by saying that as someone who has been playing Nintendo since it came out in the United States, um, Nintendo has always been super protective of their IPs. And in today's modern internet age, everybody and their brother put something on YouTube. So this kind of puts Nintendo in a little bit of a conundrum. And they should. I mean, the Wii U's got it's got like a YouTube integration feature that they used for Mario Kart 8, and this has a very similar feature. But the tournament mode, Nintendo's Nintendo has come in and in typical Nintendo style. And we've talked about Nintendo and what we felt like they needed to change in order to compete in today's modern gaming environment. And I'm gonna go through the three major complaints, and then I'm gonna kind of say my opinion on it based on someone who's owned their own business before, and see what you think. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So first of all, the first major complaint is that players aren't allowed to make 1v1 tournaments in community mode. The only option available is a free-for-all, and it's the every man for himself type of game mode that most people associate with casual Smash Brothers. So the people that really have the problem with it are your super highly competitive Smash Brothers. At least the way I'm reading this, and from the looks of like the forums, and I guess I'm equating these forums to WoW patch that comes out, and then everyone is just losing their minds over it. That's kind of seems how this is happening. Um, so the second biggest problem with it is that bracket tournaments can only be made by Nintendo. There's no way for anyone else to create one online or offline since the community tournaments are exclusively based on a point system. So, from what I could tell, the brackets start only at specific times and don't automatically start when they fill up. So, it's conceivable that as a player, even if your bracket is completely full and it fills up with 50 minutes to go until the next tournament, you have to wait that 50 minutes before it starts.
Yeah, that I could see that being an issue.
But you and I have both played tournaments of several different kinds, whether it be Magic or Hearthstone or online Hearthstone or local Hearthstone. But I mean, especially in Magic, when you and I go to Dragon Con, um, it doesn't matter how soon the brackets fill up if there's no one there to ref the match. We have to wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't see why an online tournament would feel like they wouldn't have to wait either. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and here's the other thing. Even when you're playing in those tournaments, and say your ref, judge, whatever you want to call them, is there on time, if you're doing this by round, so like say everybody in the first bracket starts at the same time, and your match only takes 10 minutes, and they're allotting 60-minute time limits for each round, now you're standing around for 50 minutes waiting on the round time to end, unless it all ends early. Then you've got to wait another 15 to 20 minutes usually for the next round to get started. For the judges to get everybody in place and get everything started. So I mean, yeah, tournaments take time. That's the thing. There's no fast really way to do it. You just have to go with the flow, basically.
Right, and that's the one constant in the tournament environment, regardless of whether it's been video games or card tournaments, poker tournaments. I've been to a couple of those, and it's the same consistent thing: is you're going to have to wait. Waiting is just part of the tournament scene. So I kind of broke off and I said I'd go through all three and then come back, but that's kind of where I was at on that one. And then the YouTube replay feature, which, first of all, I'm super surprised Nintendo is even offering this.
I am too, especially as fiercely as they go after players who post Let's Plays of their titles.
Right. So here's the thing: the YouTube replay feature that they added for this feature, the tournament feature, restricts clips to 3 minutes or less. And most matches are 5, 6, 8, 10 minutes long, depending on the options you choose. And they're wondering if like a few extra minutes is really such a hassle. So the person that's actually writing the article, and I'm not gonna call him out here. I'm just gonna say that there's all kinds of articles out there that you can read on this, and I would encourage you that before you pick one side or the other, spend a little bit of time reading them. It took me about 30, 45 minutes to read several, and then I spent some time on the forums earlier today when I got home before I thought that it was warranted talking about this tonight. Um, but this author, uh, it's talking about being disconcerting that Nintendo is holding so many of the keys tightly to its metaphorical chest. It says it has an embarrassing track record of not understanding how the modern internet works, and also has an embarrassing track record of releasing Smash Brothers games that have miserably designed and unnecessarily confusing menus and user interfaces. So let's go back up to the top. The first big problem is that players aren't allowed to make 1v1 tournaments in community mode. The only option is a free-for-all, chaotic, every man for itself type of game mode that most people associate with casual Smash. So my first real point, and really the point that I want to drive home, is that Nintendo is not obligated under any rule or any, like, they didn't promise a tournament mode. When you bought the game, it didn't have a tournament mode, and the fact that you're even getting one as a gamer, you should be at least appreciative enough to give them time to implement it and give that tournament mode several months to filter in. You don't know what their schedule is. They may have a plan to introduce a 1v1, but maybe it's not working right, or maybe they've not got it nailed down the way that they want it, and it's going to be, 4, 5, 6. I mean, shoot, if you're a company like Blizzard, it could be a year before you get something.
Yeah. Now there was something you said a minute ago that I was seeing in the article that I wanted to touch on. You had said that basically they have an embarrassing track record of not understanding how the modern internet works in regards to how gamers want to be able to access their games. Well, there's a part of this article a little further up where it says that there have been numerous reports with players in the tournament mode that if either player disconnects at any point through a match, it actually counts as a loss for both players and removes both players from the tournament.
That that is in the article, but that is a player. The player sent that in, and before I didn't bring that up because I've not been able to confirm that that is a rule. From what I could tell, based on what I saw on the forums and the responses from other people on the forums, it's an ongoing issue, but no one has come out and said that that's the way it's supposed to be.
Gotcha. So it could be a bug that's causing both players to be removed from the tournament if one disconnects.
Exactly. I didn't see anywhere where it was in the rules. It may be in the rules, but from what I could tell, like from what I saw in the research that I did today, it didn't. If it's in the rules, I didn't see it. So to me, this sounds like it might be a glitch. It may be
Gotcha.
something that they need to work on later.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, if that's a rule, that's terrible. That is a terrible rule, and that's something that definitely needs to be rethought. But if you remember, we had a problem in Heroes with people leaving, so they implemented that lever system where you're flagged as a lever if you exit the game, regardless of how you exit the game. And that rule was hard and fast. And I didn't really think that it was fair, and I still to this day don't like it because if something happens, I have a family, I've got a job, um, you know, I may sit down thinking I've got 25 and 30 minutes to play, or I may sit down and think, well, I got 20 minutes to play, but the game's taking 45. You know, to be able to occasionally get up and exit a game, or to be able to lose connection without fear of being penalized for it for multiple games afterwards, um, this kind of rings true in that same sense. So I can see that this may be a rule, but it's something that we'll have to look into further.
Yeah. Yeah.
But more and more as people begin taking games and online games where you're interacting, either playing with or playing against other people. I think that there's been so many people that'll just reach behind and disconnect their Ethernet cord or just drop their wireless connection so that they don't have to lose. Um, that's and that's kind of bringing me back to another point that I'm going to make on this is that our attitudes as gamers has brought us to this situation. We are like, in a lot of ways, we're like a bunch of spoiled little kids who either we want our way and we're going to cry and cry loudly until we get it, or if we don't like the way something's done, we're just going to take our toys and go home. So if players would take their losses and do things the right way as far as being online and playing in these tournaments and doing it in a way that's respectful to the people that they're playing with and playing against, then we wouldn't have these hard and fast rules like the lever system in Heroes of the Storm. And if this is a rule, the disconnection and causing both players to lose here. But I mean, and I can see how this would be exploited. If I'm losing my match and I feel like the other guy has done it cheaply, or I don't like the manner in which he's done it, now I can just drop my connection, and I was going to lose anyway.
Now you're out too, yeah.
And now they're out too. So, and that's why I'm leaning towards I think this is more of a bug. Because I don't see how that couldn't have come up in like a focus group or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I feel, and this is a lot like, I hear a lot of complaining that there's not a tournament mode in Hearthstone. Personally, I wouldn't mind having a tournament mode. But my life is busy, and I don't play competitive Hearthstone. It's not my living. So if I sign up for a tournament, I need it to be flexible. But the whole point of a tournament is to move it along. And the very nature of the tournament is inflexible. So it's very hard to balance a tournament that isn't happening locally and make it online, and for everybody involved to be able to dedicate the amount of time it takes to properly work through that tournament. So there has to be rules, and there has to be a set of standards, and there has to be a strong set of guidelines that's going to move this in the right direction to make it fluid and to make it, I don't want to say seamless, but make it cohesive. And I would rather them spend 6, 8, 12, 24 months making it right than introduce something that isn't ready or something that has not been well thought out that people are going to invest a lot of time, energy, and emotion into. So, 1v1 Smash Brothers tournament, you're automatically excluding people and you're taking away Nintendo's ability to control that environment. So as a business owner, the last thing that I wanted to do was be able to teach something to somebody, show them all of my secrets, and then have them go out and start their own business to compete against me. Likewise, I didn't want to sell something from my pro shop at a certain price, only to have the people that I sell it to turn around and sell it at a bigger price. I don't want to show somebody how to do a particular technique or teach somebody how to put together a team or a demonstration and then have them go out and then charge for those demonstrations later. Be able to make money off my intellectual property and end up taking that property and making more money from it than I can make. So from a business standpoint, if I'm going to sell a video game and it's going to have an online mode, it's going to have an online tournament mode, and people are going to upload this to YouTube and make money off uploading it to YouTube, I'm going to want a little bit of that money, my intellectual property, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to want a cut of that money because I'm providing not only the content, but the platform in which they get to play said content. So I have zero problem with Nintendo saying you can't make brackets unless we make them. And I would imagine that, if Blizzard were to do the same thing with Hearthstone, I would imagine that since they don't really get to control the tournament scene except for the Road to BlizzCon outside of Hearthstone, that if there's a tournament scene inside Hearthstone, they're going to control it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't expect anything less from Nintendo. So to be ticked off at Nintendo for wanting to control the online tournament mode, I think is just ridiculous.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely make a lot of good points, and I can definitely see where it is in their best interest to control that.
So let's talk about YouTube for a second. We're going to end up uploading this to YouTube probably. You and I have made YouTube videos for Hearthstone. You've made a couple we've made them for Heroes back when Heroes was in the technical alpha.
Correct.
You've made a couple for Hearthstone. I'm going to be making some for Hearthstone. So when I say what I'm about to say, I don't want it to come across as I'm against the YouTube culture as far as like video gaming is on YouTube. But it is not my right as a video gamer or as a caster to be able to put somebody else's intellectual property on YouTube. Plain and simple. If I own the property, or so let's say I'm writing a book. If I want to get on here, if I want to get on YouTube and I want to read that book as like a podcast, it's my intellectual property. That's fine. If I get out in my yard and I make a video, like let's say that I buy a drone and I send it through the woods and I put some cool techno music that I've made in GarageBand in behind it. That's my intellectual property, right?
Yes.
So I can put that on. Okay, so now let's say I do all that, but instead of making my own music, now I put Danger Zone on it by Kenny Loggins. Well, now I'm using someone else's IP for something I'm doing. So they should get a cut of that. Or they'll take it, or they should be able to take it down because I didn't get permission. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, I may be casting it. Yes, I may be controlling it. But the moment that I use someone else's intellectual property to further something that I'm putting on YouTube without their permission, then either A, they need to get a cut of it. Any money that I make from it, they need to get a cut of it. Or B, they need to be able to control how it's put on, if it's put on at all. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And that's, it's not Nintendo saying, oh, it's too much of a hassle to add another 6 minutes of game time on there. That's not what they're doing. The 3-minute mark is to control how much content you can put on YouTube.
Yeah, and this gets into a whole much longer and deeper conversation because then you get into Fair Use Act and things like that. So right now, and I know this from secondhand experience because I have a friend who does this.
Right.
He records his daughters playing the games we grew up with on an original NES.
Correct.
He uploads those videos to YouTube.
Right.
Nintendo then makes a claim with YouTube stating this is our property, blah 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 blah. He then counterclaims that as fair use video file because it's been altered with his daughters speaking over it instead of the audio. It's just the video in the background. At that point, Nintendo has the opportunity to file a lawsuit They never do. At that point, they drop it, and he can then host those video files completely on his YouTube channel, unabated, and they can't come after that video file a second time.
Yes, and as far as that goes, I feel like this is a separate instance because they're playing through a single player game that anyone can go out and they can have that experience on their own. He's not profiting from them playing a game that no one else can play.
That's correct. Yeah, and I think that's key, is that he is not profiting.
Right, he's not profiting, and Smash Brother tournaments are big. It's a big deal. So if you're going to have thousands of users watching Smash Brother tournaments, and it's a different thing each time, but it's a continual use of an intellectual property that is still available for people to purchase, I feel like that puts it in a different bracket.
Okay.
And that's just, like, I don't want to not be able to put Hearthstone on YouTube. I don't want to be able to not put Heroes of the Storm on YouTube. Or if I want to play a game on the Xbox. But the moment that I go multiplayer and the moment I attach the word tournament to it, then I feel like that puts it in a separate category.
Well, and again, it falls upon the individual developers. Blizzard has stated in multiple places that please take our stuff and put it up there. We love seeing people play our games on YouTube. We want to see more of it. We encourage people to do it, and a lot of your developers do that.
Right.
Nintendo, I feel, is in a different part because really they're the only ones who actively come after people for putting up videos of gameplay. My buddy has posted hundreds of hours of video of gameplay, and it's only the Nintendo videos that ever get flagged. All the other ones are fine. Now, there is another issue on YouTube's end that is a big problem, and there's really, to my knowledge, no way for them to fix it, and that is you've got third-party companies, and it's basically like your patent trolls. These guys are copyright trolls. Basically, what they do is they just go on YouTube and they make copyright claims on videos. So, like, again, my buddy was telling me about a game. He's pretty big in the indie developer community, and he's got a friend who made a game, and he was playing that game, and he got a strike on his account because a copyright troll said they own the rights to the music for that game. So he emailed his buddy and said, "Hey, what's going on?" His buddy was like, "I don't know. They do not own the rights to that music." But because they made the claim that they did, he got a strike on his account and had to counterclaim against that troll who had no rights to the music at all.
Right. So I mean that's something that you have to worry about if you're a video content creator putting it out there. Hey, you're right. YouTube's got to get that under control. I mean, they've got to be. You had an account ban on yours for. Is playing Hearthstone, right?
Yes. The very first video I ever uploaded of Hearthstone, my account, Avanti's Gaming, got banned, and from what I could tell, there was no legitimate reason, and they don't have to get now. Google doesn't have to give you a reason,
right?
But I appealed, and about 3 months after the appeal, the account became unbanned.
Right, so, and during this time, you could not access that account as far as to upload any new content or even take any content down, right?
That is correct. No, I was completely locked out of any creator type services on YouTube.
So yeah, and that's a big problem. And I know we're running over, but just to kind of to let my point on this kind of be a little bit further known, I think Nintendo could only prosper from allowing more of their content to be put online. single player content. But I do think that multiplayer content needs to be done through either a licensed third party that Nintendo has talked to or by Nintendo themselves. And I mean, in the end, even Blizzard, if you do a Hearthstone tournament and you want it sanctioned by Blizzard where there's actually points being given out and you want to be able to further your professional Hearthstone career, um, those rules are laid down by Blizzard. And, they don't always get to pick the format, but I think a lot of credence is given to what they want and how they want you to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I think this is something to keep an eye on, and I'll keep on it. And as more develops, we'll talk more about it. But I think right now Nintendo is not out of line with what they've proposed. I think they could take a little softer approach to how they're dealing with the community about it, but at the same time, as a gamer community, we're not exactly being soft in our approach to petitioning for something that we've been given.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
That's really. Oh, and one more thought on that. Like if they charge like an extra $10 or $15 for tournament mode, and they'd given us this, then I feel like there's a better reason to be upset. But you didn't have to pay extra for this. It wasn't downloadable content. This was something that was patched into the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys. I guess that'll do it for us for this week.
Yep.
We'll be back next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern with hopefully a little more, and hopefully we'll get these issues worked out. And
Yep. So sorry, Twitch, but it is going to be on YouTube, so we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next week, I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
Good gaming.